What is going on, people? We are Tottenham TV here, back again with another video. And Zerbi has been appointed as Tottenham team manager, as you've already seen. If you haven't lived under a rock over the last week or so, Tottenham have appointed him on a 5-year deal. And there's been a lot of narratives about Roberto De Zerbi since he's been appointed. There's a lot of things being said. He's a hothead. He doesn't last at clubs too long. He's not the right fit for Tottenham. Well, to go through that and discuss that, I've got Brighton fan Matthew Avery on the show today to go through a bit of insight into Roberto De Zerbi. What kind of manager is he? And this is a bit of insight from a fan who's had a club witnessed under Roberto De Zerbi before for a couple of years, and see how it's gone. Matthew, appreciate you joining the show, mate.
Yeah, no, good to be on. First thing I say, I do miss him. I do miss Roberto De Zerbi and everything he brought to the club and the memories that he's given us as fans. And yeah.
Tell me, before we get on to how he is as a manager and all that kind of stuff, when you heard Tottenham have signed him on a 5-year deal, making him the third highest paid manager in the Premier League, what was your immediate reaction as a Brighton fan listening to that?
I think he's always stated that he wanted to come back to the Premier League, and I wouldn't be surprised because he's a top coach. I mean, you've already seen the clips of him in Tottenham training. He's very hands-on and very, very involved. I mean, if he could sub himself on, he would. And very, very popular, wins fans, wins players on side very quickly. But so I wasn't surprised to see him back in the Premier League job anyway. So quickly after he's obviously left Marseille, and I mean that didn't go very well there. So yeah, no, I'm happy for him. I'm happy that he's back in the job, back in the Premier League. I think we'll give him a good reception when we play you in a couple of weeks' time. But to see it was a 5-year deal, I was very, very surprised given his track record with other clubs and falling out with higher ups. I mean, that's not what happened here. He's more or less just pushed out the door here because I wouldn't say there was a misalignment as such. There was just, we have our way and he has his. But at some stage, we really had to back a manager, and De Zerbi was probably that manager to back. We're doing right with Hurtsler, but I think if you asked any Brighton fan, we would rather have De Zerbi in this, just have him again, because whilst yes, he has some flaws, he was just a very, very popular man, and it all happened very quickly. So
I'll get on to his time at Brighton very quickly, but in terms of when you saw he's appointed Tottenham manager, was your gut feeling like, wow, they've got a good one here, that's like a really good appointment? Or given the situation we're in, are you thinking, what are they doing here, giving me a 5-year deal in this kind of scenario? Is he likely to get fed up very quickly with being in a relegation battle, maybe less quality players in the short term? Or do you think this guy is going to get you playing quickly in the short term? And I think you're onto a good thing here, giving De Zerbi a 5-year deal.
Like I said, I think 5-year deal is very, very excessive, and especially making him one of the highest paid managers in the Premier League. Very, very just sort of head loss and worst case scenario in many senses. So I think if he does keep you up, brilliant for De Zerbi and the club, because he'll really embed his style properly. I think when it comes to actually playing his style. With us, it took 3, 4, 5 games to really see anything of it. There was a lot of... it was difficult to say because it was a really difficult moment for him to take over. We were 4th in the Premier League. Potter just left. We were a really well-aligned and gelled team. And yeah, now we're winning. So it's arguably, and not even arguably, it's definitely more difficult to take over in a good moment as a manager when things are working than a difficult one where he is now. So for him to change the whole idea and start playing his way, it was difficult, and he tried to keep playing the way that was working, which wasn't his idea or system at all. But then also you saw at Marseille, he had a quick start, and that was because he had a preseason. So look, if he does manage to keep you up, brilliant. You get preseason and get some new players in. I think just your squad isn't the greatest of fits, I don't think, for his idea, especially midfield. Palhinha, Bentancur, He won't like them at all. There's not a huge amount of technical ability. But I do think they are two very, very valuable players to have in squads. Let's just see. Will he be able to get his idea across this quickly? Because you need results here and now. I don't know. I'm definitely more in the camp of, I think, very, very risky, very, very high risk, but also quite high reward because he can rebuild your entire club, really.
Going on to his time at Brighton, as you mentioned before, so you're saying he was pushed out more than he kind of forced himself out. Is that fair to say? Because I think the narrative at the moment is he grew disgruntled at what happened at Brighton, what was going on at Brighton. His best players were being sold. He wanted more ready-made players to like come through the door, and it ended up being a parting of ways in the summer. So what is the full story there?
I mean, obviously, I don't know the full story. I think
from a Brighton fan's point of view, from what you know.
Yeah, just from what I've heard, there wasn't actually much disagreement at all. It's maybe they didn't like his character, and it wasn't very, we're a club that needs a more of a yes man for everything to work, and not, oh, I want this player, I want this player. Which again, in many ways, and why our system and our club has worked so well and been so well run is because of that. But at the same time, maybe there's a ceiling with that, and that can only get you so far, maybe mid-table in the Premier League. And Zerbi probably was that man to take us the extra steps further. But I mean, everything was all good. Everything was all right up until I think it was the day before the last game of that season, 23-24 season, where it's just suddenly announced that he was gone. Like literally the day before, it was all good. There was plans to back him, and Zerbi was planning for next season, speaking even out that he's happy here and he wants to stay and continue to build. So it all just happened really, really quickly, and it was a mutual termination in the end because there was interest, and I think clubs like Chelsea were probably tapping him up, and that didn't work out. And ended up going to Marseille. And I mean, fair enough. He had a great first season in Marseille, got them back into the Champions League for the first time in a while. But yeah, just disappointing in the end, the way it ended.
Do you think he could be a manager that could be at a club for 5 years or so? Do you think he's capable of that kind of building an environment where it lasts more than his usual couple years?
I think he hasn't really given himself the chance for us to see that, because he's always out the door after 2-3 years. So if it's the right project, maybe if he has the right connection with the fan base, with the club, with the higher ups. Personally, I don't think he will at Spurs, because I think even you guys as fans have problems with the higher ups, and there's a lot of wrong decisions. The squad planning is not very good at all. But I mean, if he gets given the keys to build his squad and play his way and bring in his players, you never know. I don't think any manager will see the full 5 years, to be honest, especially not Italians, the way they burn bridges. You saw with Conte as well, and Stellini and everyone.
So tell me about, in terms of the football he plays, Brighton, especially over the last, let's say, 4 or 5 years, have been known as a team who do play a bit more expansive, attractive football, try to take the game to the opposition. You've had Potter, you've had obviously Zerbi and Hertzler over their last 3 appointments, and all 3 of them have been quite offensive-minded managers. But for you, is De Zerbi the best of them, and what does set him apart for you?
Without a doubt, I think getting Brighton and Hove Albion 6th in the Premier League in your first ever season in English football is really, really special. And as I said, the connection you have with the fans, with the players, it's not the same. I mean, I will give Hertzler his credit. He's a very, very young guy, very young manager, very naive sometimes, but also that that comes with age. His player management isn't as good, nowhere near as good. But De Zerbi had everyone believing in what he sees and how he sees the game and his philosophy, his idea. He's very, very good at bringing people together, and also very, very good at dealing with egos.
Okay, so and on the pitch, he's come into the Premier League with this very revolutionary style of play. Guardiola has called him one of the most revolutionary managers in the last 20 years. Is that what you've seen on the pitch? Do you think his football, there's something different about it compared to other teams in the Premier League?
Oh, for sure, for sure. No one had really ever seen this such a change in tempo, I think, with football. Because you know how he likes to bait the press in, and likes to use the movements of opposition players and opposition pressure to play around that and try to commit more bodies forward and leave large distances between opposition lines than they can break lines and often leave, say, a 3v3 higher up the pitch. But nowadays, I think in an era where a lot more teams are sitting in, and this was what I said on Twitter, nowadays, and where there's a lot of low blocks and not as much pressure, say, as 2022, 2023, where I think, you know, high pressing was definitely in trend. Is he going to have the same solutions? Is he going to have ideas to break down low blocks? Will he adapt his idea? It is a different era of especially Premier League football. It's a lot more defensive nowadays and a lot more set piece based. Again, we're going to have to wait and see. He will have watched a lot of games, a lot of Premier League football over the last couple of weeks since he's been linked. So he's again one of the most revolutionary and smartest managers in Europe. So he will have solutions, I'm sure.
So you back him to reinvent himself again if need be?
I mean, that's also the other side about Zerbi. He's very stubborn with the way he plays. And he will, I mean, it's also not a bad thing because, yes, these things take time, but also you don't have the time to properly bind his vision at the moment. Again, yeah, if you stay up, then absolutely you do. You get pre-season, he can mould his squad. But with this current squad, do you have the players? Attacking wise, I think yes. Probably defenders as well. Very front-footed, very aggressive. And the midfield where you need to be playing 1-2 touch and be very, very quick with movements and how you receive the ball. You're not going to be able to do that with Gallagher, with Palhinha, Bentancur, probably not Basuma. I think he'll really, really like Archie Gray, though, and maybe Bergvall. I think in many ways it might limit Bergvall because Bergvall's definitely more of a dribbler and more of a free-thinking player. Whereas Archie Gray, sorry, definitely has the football brain, and I think he'll enjoy using Archie Gray, definitely.
Being a fan of a team who's been managed by Zerbi, how highly do you rate him when you're comparing him to other managers across the Premier League? Where does he sit for you?
I think, like we said, revolutionary, and you have to be at least top 5 to be revolutionary.
Top 5?
Definitely. Yeah, no, honestly, you'll see. You'll see. I do wish him all the best. But I mean, obviously, we're going to be likely competing for Europe next season, so it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world to see you guys go down. But yeah, no, seriously, if you do go down, I know he's publicly come out and said he'll still be the manager. Whether you guys believe that or not,
do you believe it?
Nah.
No?
I mean, I think the only reason he's taken this job in the first place is just a massive payout. You've seen the amount of money they've offered, and I mean, he didn't want the job until at least summer, so it's just money based. We'll see again. It's all a bit up in the air at the moment, and I think exciting times for Spurs fans if he is able to keep you guys in the Premier League.
So we've spoken about the way he plays and how revolutionary it was, but what would you say is his biggest blind spot or his biggest flaw, do you think, that he does something he needs to really work on?
I think keeping or just sticking with the way he plays. I think you're not going to be able to play every game in the same way. There is going to be games where they are going to be gritty, and I think he did struggle with games like that. You might have the players for that. I mean, that's where, again, a player like Palhinha can come in. He does the difficult side of the game really, really well. Yes, we need to see him in games really first. I'm not sure who you've got left, but just at the end of the day, results here and now. You can focus on a longer term vision end of the season.
So you say he's quite stubborn. He kind of sticks to the way he plays, doesn't really change it. But in terms of in game and the tactical tweaks he makes and in-game changes? How is he with those things?
I think in terms of game management, it's good. I think off the ball there, sometimes there was questions, but that's also to do with maybe sometimes the athleticism of our players. I mean, we were hit on transition a lot. That was the issue with having Lewis Dunk, for example. Yes, he was very, very, very crucial and very good on the ball for us, and crucial in how we built out. Same with Adam Webster and Estupinian was often very, very high up the pitch, so he left us short at the back. But I mean, I said this at the time when Zerbi first came in. Under Potter, we were a defensively good side, and under Houghton, so we have some good defensive DNA in the Premier League. Will that translate to Zerbi at the start? Yeah, it did, and we were defensively all right. And you got some good defenders. Obviously Romero, I think is top. I mean, apart from his attitude and his temper, Van der Ven obviously top. Danso I really rate. Spence, Udoji, Porro. I think you got a really nice defense to work with there. So you might not have issues. But again, it's what can he do in the first few games and how quickly he can get results.
Looking at your team now, if I know it's not a nice conversation to have, but if we were to stay up, do you think there's any player Zerbi might target from Brighton as someone who could fit in at Tottenham that we currently need?
Van Hecker. I mean, there's not anything else I can say other than top. Definitely a top 6, top 5 Premier League centre back. We've all seen what he can do this season and last season as well. For Bruggen, I've seen you've been linked with as well. You are crying out for a goalkeeper, and I think he's gone really, really under the radar this season. Yes, he has mistakes in him. But I mean, so does Kinski, for example. But that doesn't make him a bad goalkeeper at all. In fact, I think quite the opposite. I've liked what I've seen of Kinski in the past. You definitely need more midfielders. So maybe even Yasin Ayari. I think he played limited minutes under Zerbi as he first came in I think January 2023, and made the odd appearance here and there. Definitely someone who can play the Zerbi style, likes to play 2-3 touches. Jack Hinchelwood, very, very clever player. But to be fair, I think apart from Verbruggen and apart from Van Acker, I can't see anyone. I can't see him taking anyone else.
Just quickly back on the conversation about Zerbi leaving. What was the reaction from Brighton fans when that was announced? Because you said there was a bit of a disagreement, or the board wanted someone different, more of a yes man. Zerbi, has demands, and then you ended up having a parting of ways. You obviously say you're still very fond of him. You would still like him as your manager. So what was at the time the reaction from fans? Was it very angry against the board? Was it angry against Zerbi? Was it understanding that there had to be a mutual parting of ways? Like, what was kind of reaction when it all happened?
Just pure shock, really. Like I said, we were thinking ahead into next season, and there was a lot of PR said. In fact, Zerbi even himself came out and said he's happy and he would like to stay and be in charge for next season, build over pre-season and be heavily backed. There was plans for him to be heavily backed. So yeah, just a lot of shock, a lot of sadness as well, because the memories he gave us as Brighton fans are just completely unforgettable. He gave us a win against Marseille, probably one of the most unforgettable moments in my life, let alone as a Brighton fan and as a football fan.
There wasn't like a split, like Team Zerbi or Team Tony Bloom, anything like that. It was kind of just there was an understanding that it had to end this way.
I don't think there was an understanding. I think there was more of a shock. That's the best way I can describe it. It's like, oh, what are we doing? What's happened? No one really knew at the time what had happened. But
so what was there? My point is, was there any anger against the board when it happened, or not really?
I wouldn't say anger against the board. There was definitely confusion as to why this decision has been taken. I think looking back at that decision now, there is a lot of people that question the board and were like, why are we taking that decision? to just get rid of him. And in a moment where we could have backed him and could have really built and been really, really strong like we were in 2023 again. But the boards have got us this far, and how well we've been run as a club, obviously. I think we do have right to question some of the decisions the boards have made in previous years. But yeah, just
there's a trust there. There's a trust there. They know what they're doing, kind of thing.
I think so. Yeah, definitely. I think, but over the last year and a half, a lot of decisions have just been driven by purely data, which is obviously the thing we've been known for most. But you need the eye test as well with players, with managers, and you need to actually see how they get on in an environment.
So, final question for you: how excited should Spurs fans be with getting Zerbi through the door?
I think for the longer term, I mean, a longer term is in fact, no, medium term. I'll say medium term. Very excited if you stay up. Very, very excited. I don't think he's more of a long-term manager. I think it's more short-term success. So over the next 2 seasons, you will have some brilliant memories under Roberto Zerbi if he's backed correctly, if he has the love, if he feels the support. He'll build a great connection with the squad, with the fan base, and bring everyone together. I think that's really what you haven't had since Ange, obviously, or since when Ange Ball was really, really good. You haven't had that same connection under Frank, or obviously Igor Tudor couldn't really build anything with him. But his character, his personality is one of the best things about him. So yeah, just you'll enjoy it a lot if you stay up.
All right. And first home game is Brighton at home. Are you more worried for that game now we got him in?
Yeah, definitely. I think he's very much unpredictable now, since he hasn't been in the Premier League for a couple of years. How will he play? How will he set his squad up? Against a manager that only plays one way, it might be a little predictable for us to look at him and think, how can we exploit this? The squad, you probably won't know the squad either. I mean, I highly doubt, players like I've said plenty, Paulinho will start. He prefers more technically sound, lighter, good ground covering midfielders. So just can't really call it at the moment. It's quite close, and I think in a system where he wants to bait the pressure, and we're a very high pressing side, it'll be a good game. I think very end to end.
All right, Matthew. Appreciate all your time, mate. Appreciate you coming on the show. If you want to see more of Matthew Avery, you want to see some more Brighton content, all the links to all his channels will be in the description below. He's on X, TikTok, YouTube, and Insta as well. So I'll link all the in the description, all the channels. Appreciate your time, mate. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks so much.